I got to make a lock key for this tubular lock that I've taken from a safe, which is a digital safe. Opened it up for them. They've lost the keys and the battery for the safe. Now they want a key for the lock, which they don't have already. So I'm just going to show some of you guys how to make a key for a lock. I'm sure some of you have seen this type of lock before. They're a pain in the ass to get keys cut for. Anyway, here's how you do it when you don't have any keys for it. This is locked up at the moment. The idea first, we've got to pick the lock so that we know the height for the pins and everything inside. This particular lock has different springs in it, different spring tension, so it can't be impressioned. So the usual method with the impressioning tool is not really going to work. I've never used this YouTube live thing before, so if you can send any comments or anything, then please do, then I can see how that works. I've got no idea. Right. Anyway, so first off, we've got to pick this lock. We can't do it with the impressioning tool, so we're going to have to do it pin by pin anyway. So, let's see if I can set this on here. I know you're not really going to get to see it very well, but that'll do. In this circumstance, I'm not going to need to tension it because I can just clamp the back of it up in the vise like this and then just twist on the body of the lock, and that's going to turn, same as turning the core anyway. I've used for this one is just a broken pick where the tip, you can see, is just flat. Okay, so I'm just going to pick it, but I'm not going to turn it a full position. I'm only going to turn it halfway in between the shear line so that it'll leave our pins solid. And you just go around the lock, picking pin by pin, and hopefully you get some pins set. Literally just poking the pins. It's not the important part anyway. Well, it is, I suppose, but a little bit tedious, but just keep poking around. Very simple. Okay, so that's picked now. I can turn it as much as I like, but the aim is to only turn it a tiny bit. Now the pins are set in a solid position, and we can now use the usual method with the impressioning tool without having to worry about jiggling and doing the actual impressioning part. Let me just get my tool. Okay, so this is the impressioning tool that I'm going to use. Loosen it off, flatten out all the springs. Now you're going to want to tighten this up as tight as you can. And now, without disturbing the lock, and line it up as best as you can. Oh, by the way, this is only going to work with the Go-So type and the HPC version where you can remove the inner pin on the inside, because the lock is already picked, so you won't be able to insert in the correct place here if you have that tube in there. So line it up properly. Ooh. And then give it a wiggle. Now that should be it. So how do we know? Is that right? Make sure that it's tight. Set the lock back and see if the key works. And indeed, that now works. So now we've got basically a copy of the key on the tool. And now we need to transfer the tool to a machine where we can copy it onto a key. Now, I have this very ancient machine over here, which requires a lot of messing about, basically. Here's the key that I'm going to be copying it onto. That will come into this side of the machine, and the tool is going to sit here on this back pin. Now, let's see if I can set this up and work around it. I've got some really crappy tripod from the pound shop for my phone, so just bear with me a minute. That's not gonna work. Okay, that should do it. That should do. Right. So, with our key that we've made here, making sure that it's as tight as we can get it, because we don't want to disturb them pins on there whilst doing this. This will go on the end of the machine here, like so. And you can see I've got some little Sharpie marks on there, just because this is free turning at the moment. If you have the HPC one or any of the ones with the little pin inside, then that will actually slot on that groove there, but because I don't, I'm going to have to just handle it here. So what I like to do is get a bit of paper, stick it on the end, slide it over the paper like this, and then tear that away, and that just makes it a bit more of a firm fit on there, and it's not going to slide around too easy. So that sits on there. Now we've got to get the key in over here. And again, with this old machine, that's easier said than done. So get it in, push it all the way back. This machine is quite temperamental. You've got to have used it a few times before and get used to it. Okay, so now how to set this up, you've got to sort of calibrate it every single time you use it. So here there's a cutter in this side, we're just going to loosen that off. And now you see that cutter can move forwards and backwards. And over on this side here, we're going to just push this all the way up until it hits that notch. And when it does hit that notch, we're going to slide the cutter out to meet the key and then tighten that up. And that should leave us with the tip of this cutter being in line with the tip of this. In theory, anyway. Whether it's going to actually work that way, I don't know. That just depends on how good I've got it. So what I would usually do is pull this out too far and then pull it all the way and allow the key to push it back until we hit that stop, which is just there. Now being very careful so we don't knock the cutter out. We tighten this off. And that's it. We should be good to go. Now the idea here is, as we pull this, we're going to use this notch to go in and out of all of these grooves here as we go, and in relation the key will be moving onto the cutter blade there. So this is a very noisy machine, and it's probably going to vibrate the camera off the desk. Anyway, safety squints always, because nobody wants shrapnel in the eye. You guys might want to turn your volume down a bit if I've got the audio even going at this moment. I don't even know, I'm probably wasting my voice, my whatever, but you might want to turn your volume down whilst we begin. Okay, so that should now leave us with a key to suit. Really need to sort out a better tool for getting this off. Now we've got a cut key. Now the idea is that this key should now work this lock. So for the lack of having two hands, I'm going to just throw it in here. And pray to God that I've actually got it right and it's going to work. And there she goes. It's not the most perfect key, could do with a bit of adjusting. But it works. Well, that's it basically. Thanks for watching anyway. I hope you learned something. And if you didn't, then I hope you just enjoyed watching.